There is a place, hidden in the mountains of Japan, that does not appear on any map. A place no one speaks of openly, but that everyone fears. A place so dark that the nation itself decided to erase it. We are not talking about a simple ghost town. We are talking about Inunaki. A village where the laws of man are said to be a distant memory. Where the boundary between human and monster has dissolved. Here, legends speak of an ancestral cult. Of rituals forgotten by the world. And of one single, terrible taboo, broken. The taboo of cannibalism. Today, we dare to step into the shadow. To separate the terrible truth from the even more terrible legend. To find Inunaki, you must first abandon the modern world. Venture into the densest forests of Fukuoka Prefecture. And there, hidden by the vegetation, find its one, true guardian. A tunnel. Damp, dark, seeming to breathe. This is not just an entrance. It is a gateway. A symbolic threshold between reason and madness. Beyond this passage, time has stopped. But this tunnel is more than a forgotten entryway. It is a place stained by a history of real violence. In the 1980s, a crime so brutal was committed here that the authorities were forced to seal it forever. A group of youths lured a young man inside, they tortured him and then set him on fire. Since that day, it is no longer just a passage to a village, but a monument to evil. An evil that, some say, never truly left. A gallery carved into the rock, sealed for years, and yet, to this day, some swear they hear voices coming from within. Locals claim to hear, deep in the night, the sound of a running engine, as if an invisible car endlessly traverses the gallery. And, at times, a sudden scream tears through the valley's silence. Those who have tried to enter speak of hands stretching from the walls, of footsteps that follow you in the dark, and of a voice that whispers, "You should not have come here." Some amateur videos show shadows moving behind the beams of flashlights, others, cut off abruptly. Some say the tunnel is not just a passage, but a threshold. A portal between the world of the living, and something that no longer belongs to us. And at its entrance, a promise, or a threat. A sign that warned travelers, the constitutional laws of Japan do not apply in this village. Once you cross that threshold, silence. But it is a silence that weighs heavy, laden with memories. Wooden houses crumbling, devoured by moss and time. Objects of daily life abandoned in a haste that seems eternal. Every object is a question without an answer. Every house, a tomb for stories that will never be told. But what happened when those houses were still alive? The legend paints a chilling picture. They say that when the sun fell behind the mountains, the dogs would begin to howl in unison. As if they could perceive something invisible. Something not even the men dared to name. Inunaki was a village isolated from the world, its inhabitants living by archaic and forbidden rites, passed down for generations. The darkest story, the one even ghost hunters only whisper, is that of the cult. A group, growing ever more isolated, that began to worship something ancient and twisted. Something that demanded sacrifices. Not of animals, but of humans. Some say they practiced human sacrifice to appease the mountain spirits. Others, that they fed on lost travelers. An act of faith. Or of madness. And it is said that for this cult, cannibalism was not an act of desperation, but of purification. A ritual to absorb the strength, or the very soul, of those who were consumed. Over time, the stories evolved. Today, the accounts speak of sounds. voices whispering from the deep forest. And these are not the only voices. They say the name itself, Inunaki, which means the howling of the dog, is not just a toponym, but a warning. An omen of what is heard howling among the trees when night falls. They speak of windows that suddenly light up in houses that have had no electricity for decades. And, at times, of the figure of a child that vanishes into nothingness the moment you lay eyes on it. And then there are the disappearances. Unverified, yet persistent stories of hikers or the curious, who ventured into Inunaki and never returned. Their bodies were never found. Add this to the myth of cannibalism, and the circle closes in a terribly logical way. So, the question is no longer if there was horror in Inunaki. The question is, what kind? A cannibalistic cult? Restless ghosts? Or something even more unspeakable? Waiting only for someone to cross that threshold once more. But before we let the horror consume us, it is our duty to take a step back and ask ourselves, how much of this is true? The answer, as so often, is buried in history. Inunaki-juku really existed. It was not a den of cultists, but a post town for travelers and woodcutters, flourishing in the Edo period. Its economy was timber and charcoal. Then, progress arrived. New railways and roads completely bypassed the village. With no more travelers, with no more economy, Inunaki was condemned to a slow, inexorable oblivion. Abandonment, not cannibalism, is the true killer of this place. And that unsettling sign, the one that proclaimed the end of the law, there is not a single verified photograph of it. No official document mentions its existence. Experts agree, it is almost certainly an urban legend born on the internet, probably on Japanese forums, a perfect nightmare detail to complete the story. But if the sign is a fake, how do we explain another, more modern and disturbing phenomenon? The digital silence. Inunaki is not just a village forgotten by history. It is a place that seems to have been erased from the digital world as well. It doesn't appear on Google Maps, it is a void on municipal charts. Some Japanese urban explorers swear their amateur videos have been taken down inexplicably, that their social media posts are deleted, and that their GPS signals fail right near the tunnel. The legend grows, and with it, the shadow of a doubt. Is it government intervention? Or the effect of a legend feeding on itself, where every mysteriously vanished piece of evidence just adds fuel to the fire? But one thing is certain, the more Inunaki disappears from reality, the more alive it becomes in the fear of those who dare to seek it. It may not exist on maps, but it exists powerfully in the stories, the deleted videos. In the tales of those who had the courage to approach. And, as is often the case, what cannot be found, is often what most unsettles the mind. So, why do we believe so easily? Because Inunaki is the perfect archetype of human fear, the fear of isolation, of a community that turns in on itself and becomes monstrous. It is the nightmare that, cut off from the world, we too could lose our humanity. Therefore, the legend of Inunaki as a cannibal village has been dismantled. It is a compelling story, but without historical foundation. And yet, who can say for certain what happens in such an isolated place, when no one is watching? Some think Inunaki was simply a village evacuated for natural or industrial reasons. Vanished from maps due to a bureaucratic error. Others believe it hides far darker secrets. Some claim the village was a site of secret experiments, perhaps military. Or that its disappearance was caused by incidents covered up by the government. Others still speak of supernatural forces, of presences that cannot be explained, and that continue to watch over the tunnel and the valley. Because the accounts of those who have ventured here at sunset are different. They tell of a sensation of being watched, not by ghosts, but by something alive and hidden. Someone who does not want to be found. The legend of Inunaki has escaped the woods and the online forums to infect pop culture. It has inspired films like Howling Village and found its way into horror video games, transforming into an icon of contemporary Japanese terror. This tells us one fundamental thing: Inunaki is no longer just a place. It is an idea, an archetype of horror. Perhaps, then, Inunaki is all of these things together. An abandoned village, a legend born on the internet, a cursed tunnel echoing a real crime, a name erased from maps, and now, a movie monster. Perhaps its greatest secret is to survive, not in stone, but in terror. Perhaps the true mystery of Inunaki is not the legend of cannibalism. Perhaps the true mystery is that this place, by its very nature as a non-place, attracts and generates stories. It is an empty stage upon which our psyche projects its most ancient fears. And you, what do you believe? Is Inunaki just a tragic tale of abandonment, twisted into a macabre game? Or does something remain in those silent forests, guarding a secret too dark to be told? The discussion is open. Write your theory in the comments. The mystery is now in your hands.